Welcome to today's Sticky Learning Lunch. It's Friday, it's exciting. Monday's exciting, Friday's exciting, every day is exciting. And we're going to be delivering some exciting content that's going to help you get a bit more focused with what you're doing. Just giving it a few more minutes while we're waiting for the last people to arrive into the room. Xavier, massive shout out to you for being so early, really appreciated. Good to see you, Tim. Good to see you, Janine again. Jane, hello. Thank you for being here. Fabienne, Darren, Colin, thank you for being here. Who else have we got in at the moment? Abby, good to see you. Just going to give it 10, 15 more seconds just to let the last few people arrive. We won't hold it against anyone if they're late, even though this is time management. Just kidding. Ah, yeah, just remember. Bonjour, monsieur. Ça va? Right, just while we're setting everyone up for success, let's make sure we get this right. Mobile phones, as always, flight mode. Zero out the distraction. 100% attention on what we're doing here today. 100% focus on who you are, what you need to get out of this, and how you're going to develop yourself. The only investment that is ever guaranteed is the one that you make in yourself. And if you're going into that with any vague intentions, you're only ever going to get a vague output. So let's be super clear on that. Phones off, emails closed down your social media feeds, 100% attention on you and this. Second thing, as always, fresh page, fresh thinking. Fresh page in the notepad. At the top, you're going to write keepers. Up there is going to be the things you want to keep hold of, the things you want to remember, remind yourself about, the things that you want to reignite that imagination and keep that thinking going and keep the learning sticky. And then finally, making sure you've got a drink available. We're going to go into this in just one more second. Good afternoon, Karen. Good to see you. Let's go then. So welcome to today's Sticky Learning Lunch with me, Nathan Simmonds, Senior Leadership Coach and Trainer for MBM, Making Business Matter, home of Sticky Learning. And we are the leadership development and soft skills provider to the grocery and manufacturing industry. The idea of these sticky learning, these sticky lunches, is to give you new information, new ideas that's going to help you take your skill set to a whole new level, helping you be the best version of you in the work that you do. Right, today, well, actually, not just today, for the next 7 days, we're going to be looking at time management and the hurdles that go with our time management and the hurdles that we need to overcome to make sure we're doing the best that we can with the time and the space that we have available. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being terrible, 10 being phenomenal, how is your time management right now? We've got an 8 coming in. Ivy, great to see you again. Thank you for being here. We've got a 5, we've got an 8. Get a nice mix of numbers already coming through. Haha, I can drink tea mid-sentence. 6, 5, 7, 7.57. Wow, okay. We're all feeling like we're a little bit in the middle of the road here, there or thereabouts in the majority. In the question box, a couple of 8s here, which is nice. In the question box, what's one thing that you would like to learn or would like to improve about your time management from the next 7 days? Let's get a flavour of what's going on with the thinking right now. Going to say Ivy, I don't think I've seen you since the personal development session, so it's lovely to see you here again. Thank you. Sticking to what I've listed in my diary to do, absolutely. Not leaving everything until the last minute. Abby, definitely, you're going to get a link in. So while this is coming through, we're going to get a link in for the future sessions around time management. If you haven't already registered, do so. In that link though, Abby, are the link to the previous sessions, and in there you're going to find there's 3 sessions that we've just done around procrastination, and that may really help you with some of these elements as well. Not being distracted, how to stay focused, prioritizing. Good, we've got some key elements in here. So let's dive into this and keep hold of these. So these things you put in the question box, let's make sure that you're writing those down on your page and you've got them in front of you. You've got them there as an individual learning objective for yourself. So it's going to help you kind of develop your thinking in that space. And keep hold of that. It's really important. In a second, that link for tomorrow's session will, sorry, not tomorrow, not Saturday. The future sessions will come up and we'll dive into that. Oh, excuse me. So what are we going to be covering today and moving forward in these next sessions? We're going to be looking at the 7 hurdles around time management. And these are things that, you know, often the challenges that we hit or we're not very good at, or that we're missing something in that area that stops us from moving forward and enabling us to manage our time. It's interesting kind of misnomer though about managing time, because you can't manage it. It's going to do what it's going to do. The only thing that you can do is create a structure inside it that helps you achieve what you want to. And some of that comes down to personal development planning, so how you structure those elements out, how you take note of the things that you need to do more often than not, and then make sure that you execute against those. So let's be super clear, time is always going to do what it needs to do. You just need to change certain elements of what you do and just turn the heat up and dial certain things down in order to get the best out of those moments that you section off for yourself. So what are the 7 hurdles? I've got them listed down here. The first one is capturing. How we make sure we're getting that information down. The second one is listing. How we make sure that's documented and compartmentalized and prioritized. I'm writing it a bit smaller because I've got quite a lot to put up here today. Emptying, making sure actually when you go to those pockets and those buckets that you're taking the stuff out of them at the right time and getting them cleared down. Deleting, if it doesn't need doing, take it out, making sure when it's done, it's removed. Storing, where you're holding that data to make sure you know where it is and you can get to it at the right times. Scheduling, where you put it in your diary to make sure that it does happen. And the last one of these 7 is acting. As I just said though, execution. Making sure that you do take the time to get it done and getting it and making sure those things are, you know, these 7 elements are where we often stumble when it comes to our time management. So take a note of those, because each one of these days, we're going to be ticking off one of these as we move through this. But what is the one thing that makes time management, what does second to last one say? Storing. How many people here, yes or no, have you got a good memory? One below that one? Oh, sorry, scheduling, apologies. Scheduling. Yes or no, have you got a good memory? Got lots of yeses coming through, good. Got one no. How do you feel about your time management then? On a scale of 1 to 10, like I said earlier, how are you feeling? How do you feel about the systems that you've got in place? 1 terrible, 10 phenomenal. I've got yes and no, depends on the value of the experience. Got 8 on a system, 6 on it. I wrestle with them, 7. I think that's a 7. It could be a -7. I'm not sure. That would be quite bad on a 1 to 10 scale. 4, 7, 5. Okay. So it's just bearing in mind that, yes, you may have a good memory, and we'll talk about that in a second, but it's having trust in your systems and understanding how you work as an individual that's going to make the difference to your time management. How many times have you heard people say, yeah, I'm really forgetful, I've got a really bad memory? How often do we hear this? A lot? Yes, no? Maybe from ourselves, or maybe from the people around us? Me all the time, absolutely. Well, the truth is, it's not that you've got a bad memory, it's what you think of yourself and that memory. Now, how many things are we being asked to do on a daily basis, and then we give ourselves a hard time for forgetting something when we get home? Now, we have a list of objectives of things we want to get done during our day. We have our Outlook calendar, back-to-back meetings. We've got a task list. We've got a notepad with a to-do list in there, all these fantastic things. And then something else comes in, a curveball comes in, and all of a sudden we forget to do this thing over here because we've been pulled to do this over here. And then you go home and say, oh, I'm a bad person. I have a terrible memory. I didn't get this done. And then you start giving yourself a hard time because of this. Anyone know this experience, yes or no, at some point in their career? A healthy time management system is built on trust. Simple as that. If you don't trust the system that you've got, how will you be able to manage the things that are coming in on your to-do list and helping you to support your time? You won't, because you don't believe that you have a good memory. You don't believe that you have a good system. Crikey, we could go political here, and what are your thoughts? What happens to government if people don't trust their government, and vice versa? The relationship starts to break down. So we're already starting to get into the point of actually we have to trust the system we're putting in place. Otherwise, we're going to be finding gaps in how it's working, how it's not working, and we're going to be looking for the negatives by saying, I've got a bad memory. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, I'm sorry. Whatever. I'm making apologies for these things. Also, having a little faith in actually we've got a lot going on. Life is busy, and for some of us, it's even more busy in the middle of this situation, let alone on a normal day. This is the first part. You've got to have trust in the system that you're putting in place, and that's going to be different for different people. When we understand the hurdles and how they link, then we can start to go, okay, well, actually, I need to focus on this one area, and we can start to rate ourselves individually on each of these with a 1 to 10 scale to see which part we need to work on. The second part that comes into this, so number 1 is trusting the system. Number 2 is the idea is we're creating cosmos from chaos. And that's right on that line. I do apologize. The trust comes first. Do I trust the system? Do I trust myself in the system? The idea of having these 7 hurdles and having that system in place is so that you can create order. Cosmos, that's what cosmos actually means. It means order. So we create cosmos from the chaos of the day that's happening around us, of what's happening in our desk, what's happening in our inbox, that we can take those things and we can capture them in just the right way to making sure that we can to grab onto those core elements and centralize them in some sort of way, shape or form. And it just gives us that little bit of stability to make sure that we're minimizing what may go past us or what we miss. And that happens, it's human. So 1, trust. 2, cosmos, create order. Number 3, takes us into our first hurdle, capturing. Capturing is not a memory test. How many people here feel like, when they're being given things by their significant other half, or stuff comes in or something happens at work and they feel like they should remember this? I should remember this, or oh yeah, I'll remember that. How many people have got this? Something comes in, you think, yeah, I'll remember that, that's fine. Yes or no? We experience and say, oh yeah, that's easy, I should remember that. And then what happens when we forget? What happens is, we end up giving ourselves that hard time. We end up saying things like, I'm having a senior moment, or we stereotype our hair color, or we start kicking ourselves, or someone else gives us a hard time. It's not a memory test. Our brains can only compute a certain amount of bits per second. I don't know exactly what it is. I think it's something like panic, embarrassment, and self-critical. Exactly that, Colin. Our brains, I think, can process around about 2 million bits a second. but we're actually being bombarded with about 80,000 million bits. Okay, 2 million bits per second. So there's only so much room as data coming in, and if that has hit the short-term memory and hasn't gone to your long-term memory or been captured in the right way, it's very likely that the next thing that comes in will be, that thing will be forgotten as it's preceded by the next thing, as it's knocked out, because your short-term memory is only holding on to certain elements before that happens. It's not a memory test. I'll give you a prime example, of how damaging this can be. I was actually holding an interview, and the first part of an interview was, the wonderful role play. So I briefed the gentleman. I said, look, this is the situation. Got this. This is your scenario. I'm going to come back in 15 minutes, and I'm going to go through this scenario. He says, yeah, great. I'll go away for 15 minutes. I come back. I said, you ready? He said, yeah, I'm ready. So I started asking the questions. I noticed he had no notes in front of him. So I asked him, started going through the scenario and asking him the questions, and he couldn't answer them. And I rapidly realized that actually he didn't know any of the answers to any of the questions that I was asking him. And I said, oh, let's stop. What's happening here? And he said, I thought I could remember it all. So in the pressure of an interview, in what can be quite a tense situation for people, he decides to put more pressure on himself to try and look better in the interview scenario by remembering the content of a role play. What do you think happened to the interview? In one word, yes, it was buy. I managed my time in that situation because I knew that interview could not move forward. Because he attempted, when we're in high pressure situations, our brains work in a slightly different way, and our memory starts to be affected. The neocortex starts to, not work at the highest possible level. I closed the conversation, it finished within 10 minutes. And he was kicking himself. It was appropriate to do that. The second point I'll put down here is there is no prize for this test. The only thing that we get is potentially a hard time from ourselves, from our significant others when we forget their birthdays, from work when we forget to do a task. There is no prize for this memory test. Yeah, and no one's going to celebrate when you get it right. So the best thing that you can do is understand that there's a lot going on, and you need to create the systems to make sure that you're capturing the content some way, shape, or form. How do you capture it? A question for you all here, I'm conscious of time. How are you capturing your elements, the things that you need to remember on a day-to-day basis? Lists, notes, good. Sticky notes, good. Notepad, then move to diary so I can manage time. Nice, good chain. To-do list, Outlook, categorization, absolutely, Vicky. We have multiple ways to capture stuff. Now, I know people that travel with a packet of sticky notes in their pocket. We, post-it notes. We have our mobile phones. We can put a note onto that. Your capturing is, your capturing points are wherever you're thinking about these things at most, or they come to mind. I know people that have got whiteboard pens in their bathroom, so that when the ideas come up when they're brushing their teeth, they can grab a pen and write it on the mirror. So it's wherever these thoughts are coming up for you, and making sure you get them in the right place. And it may be on your Outlook on your laptop. It may be, these wonderful, great big paper pads we have with to-do lists written down the side. It may be the back of your notepad, and I've seen this done very effectively. When those actions come in, those to-dos, they go to the back of the notepad and they start to list them in numerical order from the back, working forward. Rather than being lost in the notes that we're taking at the front, we might take those actions and then we shift them to the back, so we've got sight of those constantly. So it's finding the right time. 1, trust, create the system. 2, create cosmos, from the chaos that is going on around you. And 3, capture. Best things you can do. 1, think about where you'll have most of your ideation, where most of the thoughts come up. Is it while you're at your laptop, in your Outlook, working at your desk? No, wherever. Is it in the car? Where do you need to make sure that you've got somewhere that you can document these thoughts as they come in and literally capture them? Because otherwise they're just going to float around on the carousel of your imagination. And as when you're looking at the carousel, you can see the horse and there's the idea going around, and then it disappears around the back. It hasn't got off the carousel yet, which means at some point it's going to come back round, either with your manager sitting on it, pointing a finger, or with a part of frustration because you didn't remember it the first time. Great suggestion here is usually send myself a voicemail or email if out. Exactly that. Stick it on as an alarm on your phone, on a text message to yourself, or to an email to yourself, wherever you might be. Voicemail is phenomenally powerful because when we've got things like Alexa or on mobile phones or whatever we can do, even when we're driving, we can voice activate those things now and actually record that note to ourselves and have it emailed to ourselves, so when we get to our desk, it's there as a reminder. When we're doing the capturing process, the analogy that's used in the time management and the ultimate guide to time management that we have, in there it talks about the pool table, like a snooker table. Every pocket is different, and we use those pockets at different times, at different locations, depending on what's going on in the game. And it's like capturing, we need to use certain pockets at certain times, but we also need to be aware that over a period of time, when we put so many balls into that pocket, we're going to have to go and empty it. We're going to have to go and take some of that stuff out, categorize it, and delete certain things and action certain things, which is how we then start getting into these other areas. I hope that's been useful so far. 1, get some trust in there. Start thinking about how you speak about yourself and your time management. Let's be really clear on this. When I look at time management, this is something I may say as we go through these sessions, is time serves me, I don't serve time. And what that means is we're going to put some little tactics and tips and ideas through this as we get this mindset right, as we find out on the hurdles that we find that we are stumbling on personally, and how we can overcome that and get better results. So 1, create trust in what you're doing and in how you're getting to those tasks and what you're actually completing on a daily basis. I imagine the jobs that you're in are pretty high pressure, so 10 out of 10 for getting where you've got to right now, because those expectations and those pressures, that's the stuff that challenges on a day-to-day basis. 2, creating clarity, cosmos, order in what we're doing. And number 3, making sure that we're grabbing that stuff, documenting it at the right time, and making sure we're putting it in the right place. Something else that I do is, yes, I have multiple lists. I'm a creative. My brain, it doesn't work in a straight line. So what I do is I do document different actions, and then once a day, once a week, I come back and go back over those just to make sure I can find them all and bring them into one place, so making sure that I'm listing them. Hope this is useful. A couple of different ways to look at time management, but the first one is trust yourself and the system you've got in. What's been useful from today's session so far? And this is only session 1, so we're going to start adding some other layers to this and other ideas. What has been useful from today's session? Talking about how we do it. Yep. Good. Trusting my system. Absolutely. Ideas about capturing. Good. At no point, let me remind you, at no point there is no prize for this game. There is no winner. You're thinking, oh, trying to have the best memory in the world. The best memory is only going to be celebrated by your ability to take it from there onto there and get it done. No one cares about all the other stuff unless you've got it wrong and they're going to give you a hard time. Self-trust and that my system isn't that bad, but less self-critical. Absolutely. The system's worked for you so far, and there might be just some tweaks and adjusts to build that up to make it, take you from a 7 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10. And if you can get one more, get one step up on that scale, just to help improve that, life's going to be a better place. Creating clarity, absolutely. grab the ideas, get them and centralize them, get them into the pockets on the pool table so that you know where that information is. That's going to be the first part of creating that clarity for you. What questions have you got for me right now? Conscious of time, 21. What questions have you got for me around capturing at this point in time that I can help with? No questions. Thank you, Jane. Appreciate that. While those coming in, we have, the link is there for Monday's session. Monday, we're going to be talking about listing and how we're documenting and compartmentalizing certain things. And as I said, starting to grab certain things in certain places and making sure we're getting them in the right places. So we've got the link there for Monday's session. If you have not registered already, do so now. You refer to the pockets on the pool snooker table. Is the six relevant to the number of categories? No. It's just, you know, in this analogy, no, it's understanding that, you know, there's those 6 pockets and they're going to be appropriate at different times depending on what balls are on the table, where you're standing in relation to them. So in that relation could be you're in your car and you need to use this tool to capture this at this point. In fact, I also know other people, I also know other people that when they're driving along, listen to something, maybe a podcast, or they actually pull over, they find the nearest lay-by, they stop, and then they write down the thing that they've got because it's so important to them. And absolutely, the suggestion coming in, when we're talking about this number of pockets, you don't have to have 6 areas you can put these things. You have as many capturing points as you can trust. So there might be one notepad that you use for this. It might be there's a pad in the car. It might be that you have a special folder on your Outlook where you can send those voice messages to that pings you a certain kind of alert that reminds you about it when you get to your desk. So the idea is not to have 6 pockets, but then forget pockets 6 and 5, because you only ever go to 1 to 4. Get rid of 5 and 6, because if you can't trust it, you're going to go back to them and you're going to forget about them. Your priorities and your execution is going to be all over the place. So stick to the 4 that you know are going to work for you. Hope that's useful. What other questions have we got right now? Just as that's coming in, we have a deck of coaching cards for time management. It's something that has been built by Darren for MBM, that was founder of MBM. It is on our website now. We have this on our website, the time management coaching cards, to help you structure and go through all 7 of these hurdles and to get a stronger system in place, to take the system that you've got up a level and make it even more robust, to make sure you're getting those things done. The link for those is in our chat box right now. No more questions coming through at the moment. On a scale of 1 to 10 so far, how useful has today been? 1 terrible, 10 being phenomenal. Oh, we've got 10 good, thank you. List allows to organize and prioritize. However, it's important to clean up that list at one point. It is correct, absolutely, Fabian. This is when we get into this listing and this emptying and this deleting, and then we get things actually on scheduling. Now, what gets scheduled gets done, and acting. The first part, though, is making sure we're getting those things and actually we're acting and executing the things that need to be done. Time out for some reflection is good. Absolutely. Celebrate where you're winning and adjust where you need improving. Reminded me of bits on you. Hope to learn more going forward. Absolutely, and I hope so too, with just some core elements as we go through and just keep tweaking and adjusting and turning up and dialing down the relevant elements that are going to get you even more clear on what you're doing with the time management. Everyone, look, it's Friday. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for attending this Sticky Learning Lunch. We at MBM, we have the virtual classrooms. We have a multitude of soft skills available. Again, I'm going to find a better word for these training sessions, available in our virtual classrooms. If there is something that we do that you've seen in these Sticky Learning Lunches that would help you, your team, your business Now is the time to have a conversation with us about those virtual classrooms and help to get us, the team, into your teams to help them be the best version of them in the work they're doing right now. There will be a link for the virtual classrooms in the chat box for you now. If you've enjoyed today's session, please make sure you're sharing the link for the future sessions. That first one that got shared in the chat box there, please, if you know someone else that would benefit from having their time management improved even by 1% over the course of the next 6 sessions, send them the link. Invite them to join the future sessions, because I would very much appreciate helping them take what they do even further. Everyone, thank you very much for today. Have a phenomenal weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on Monday. Thanks a lot.